All right. I do every time we start, and then I'm like, I don't know what I was gonna say. Okay. Hi, this is Ellie, and welcome to this episode of Chamber Chatting. I am here with Mr. Steve Hamilton of the Small Business Development Center at Lone Star College. Hi, Steve.
Hi, Ellie. How are you?
I'm well. Steve, you have a unique job. You are a consultant with the Small Business Development Center. Is that correct?
I am.
So tell me a little bit about the Small Business Development Center and maybe what your mission is and how you're affiliated with Lone Star College.
Okay. Well, the Small Business Development Centers have been around about 35 years. We're all over the country. We have a national organization, an annual conference, and so forth. And we are completely taxpayer funded from both the federal side and the state side.
Okay.
So Texas is broken into 4 regions, and we are in the Gulf Coast region, how uniquely named. And regional office is University of Houston.
Okay.
So they were the first ones to get set up in the middle 80s, and then their sort of objective was to go out into the community, the 32 counties that make up the region, and establish sub-centers so people from Beaumont don't have to drive to Houston to get help.
Right.
So there are 15 centers around the 32 county region that do what we do and what U of H does. U of H does what we do. They just happen to be the regional office also. They're not at the main campus, they are downtown. So once U of H got set up, the very first center that they set up at the time was North Harris County Community College, or what is known now as Lone Star. So we were the first ones to be established.
Very good.
So I believe this is our 31st year of being in existence, and all associated with Lone Star. So there's 15 other community colleges and junior colleges. Actually, A&M, Lamar, Sam Houston, they're all part of the program, along with San Jacinto, Angelina College, so forth.
So tell me more about how these programs work, how you work together with higher education. Is it just for office space? Is it for shared resources?
Good question. I've been told, I don't know how accurate this is, but it makes a lot of sense that the purpose for setting up the offices were to put them at educational facilities to take advantage of the libraries.
Oh, okay.
Prior to the Google boys being born,
Sure.
you actually had to go do stuff, research yourself,
Right.
in the library.
What was that thing that you pulled out that you had to?
Yeah, I don't know.
Index,
Card
flip
catalog.
Card catalog. Here's the number, so row 14. And I believe that's why it was established that way, for the research capabilities of the library.
Very good.
So it's just stayed that way ever since,
Well, it seems like a natural fit, for growth and education, that sort of thing. And, it works well with the Lone Star system because they have so many campuses, so that works out.
I mean, there are offices in our 32 county area that are not at the university, but they are associated with
the
the
university.
So I believe there's an office out in Katy that's part of the U of H system.
Okay.
Sam's office is not on campus either. I believe it's across the street from campus, just in an office building. So, but they are associated. Everybody's associated with an educational facility.
So now, do you also kind of feed? Are you able to use some of the classes at that educational facility to maybe recommend to some of your clients?
We're fortunate, with Lone Star because of our continuing education. And so the short answer is yes.
Okay.
But the University of Houston Small Business Development Center has an entire training department.
Okay.
With a staff and everything, and they have it down to a science. So we actually send a lot of people to the U of H office.
Okay.
I mean, it's a 30-minute drive, free parking. Classes are $29.95 usually or less.
Oh, wow.
And it's ridiculously cheap, and good instructors and good information because it's straight to the point.
Yeah.
For example, how to do business with Metro. How about this one? How to do business with HEB.
Oh.
Oh, I like that.
How to do business with the state, marketing, social media marketing, sales classes, understanding the numbers, one of the ones I teach here at the Chamber. So we have a link on our webpage that goes and lists all of the classes that are offered on 3 months out.
Okay.
So instead of reinventing the wheel, we just say, hey,
connect people with the resources that exist.
Just go to U of H and take the class.
Yeah.
But sometimes we do send them to our continuing education, like QuickBooks, things like that, which we teach in our CE department.
Very good. Well, I suppose I'm jumping ahead of us a little bit, just because I get super excited about this topic. But Steve, you are a perfect candidate for us to talk to during Small Business Summer, because as a consultant at the Small Business Development Center, you can help people start or grow their businesses. So if our listeners have been, listening all summer and thinking that, hey, like this small business stuff kind of sounds great, and these people have some great ideas, and I think I could get a part of it, Steve would be the man to talk to for sure. So Steve, in your career as a consultant for small businesses, it was a requirement through the SPDC that you have experience as a small business owner, correct?
Well, it's the requirement of the Lone Star Small Business Development Center.
Okay.
It's not a requirement all over the country, but our director, who was a business owner for many years, said as far as his staff, you had to have been a prior business owner.
Very good.
So yes, I was a prior business owner.
So tell me a little bit about your experience as a small business owner.
Well, I was a financial advisor.
Okay.
And if I want to start a little bit farther back, in high school I wanted to be a pharmacist, but they separated me at chemistry. And then somehow or another I got zeros and ones, so I majored in computer science.
There you go.
Never thought I would do anything but IT work the rest of my life, and by 89 I was beginning to get bored, and by 92 I was completely burned out. Took a package with British Petroleum, and I said, I'm going to take control of my future now.
Yeah.
Fortunately, my spouse had a good job and still enjoyed IT, so we didn't go straight to ramen noodles. We kind of stopped in between.
Sure.
And so I started in the fall of '92, getting all my licenses and everything, and I actually started my business in January of '93, and then grew that, ran it, and sold it in December of '04, and retired for about 2.5 years, and that looks really good on paper. But your buddies still have the audacity to keep working, so they can't play golf in the middle of the week, and
what
everything.
is that about?
Is that not rude or what?
That's crazy.
I thought it was totally unfair, and I couldn't convince them to retire, so I thought, well, I'll just go back to work. So about 2.5 years of that, and did a lot of things in between, because as naturally as it would happen, right before I closed on my business, I didn't know if I was going to close on my business, and I had run up against the absolute bottom line, undisputable, non-negotiable deadline date for renewing my licenses. So I had to pay that fee to renew my licenses, and then 2 weeks later we sold. But they were good for 2 years.
Yeah.
So I stayed in the industry a little bit here and there and piddled around and helped people that could use my services and so forth. So, but officially I was retired. And then I just stumbled upon this opportunity. Actually, my wife found it because she owns her own company, and I was helping her in her business, and she about had all that she was interested in.
You were an expert at the coffee runs. Is that what I'm hearing?
Absolutely. As I mentioned, she owns an IT company.
Very good.
Okay, but I stayed totally on the outside fringes of that. But anyway, she stumbled upon this opportunity at the Small Business Development Center, and I started my 10th year May the 1st.
Very good.
So
congratulations.
Yeah, I was raised by an entrepreneur father in Deep East Alabama in the 60s who had a formal 6th grade education, who said, look, you need to get a job and go to, get a good education and go to work with one of these big companies, and they'll take care of you the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And that was a great plan in the 60s. They just started coming to an end around the mid-70s.
Yeah.
So I refer to that 46 to 76 time period, that nice 30-year run, as the Beaver Cleaver era.
Right.
And but fortunately I caught the IT train and rode that all the way to 92.
Okay.
And in corporate America. But when you're raised by an entrepreneur, you have an entrepreneur brain, you think entrepreneurial, and it's just part of it, and then you try to put that brain into corporate America, and it just didn't work for me.
Yeah.
It took me 16 years, but I successfully failed at that after a 16-year run, because I kept thinking, well, if I do bring my projects in ahead of schedule, I'd give 110%, always on time, great work, blah, 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 that would be adequately and appropriately rewarded for that. And it took me a while to figure out that really is not how it works.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's kind of my background.
Well, very good. Okay, so Steve, if someone's fairly unfamiliar with the kind of the SPDC process, what is, they've kind of caught that entrepreneurial bug. They, have this great idea. They want to go out in business on their own. What is sort of some of the first steps that they can take? They say, okay, I heard that guy, Steve Hamilton. I got to go meet with him. What are the first steps that they take in order to start the process?
Well, the first thing is to come visit me.
Okay. And how can they find you?
Well, the Chamber has all my information.
You
can call me at 832-813-6523. I'm around all the time. I'm actually located at the University Center. Our services are no cost. We do have a little bit of preliminary paperwork that we have to gather first. And after that, once I get the paperwork, we just sit down and talk, because I want to know where you are, what you're doing, what you're thinking about, why are you here, and all those things, because it's easy to get in the ditch and not be able to get out.
Yeah.
Okay. Or getting out is very expensive.
Yeah.
So we want to keep our learning cost to a minimum, and I can help with that. I provide tremendous amount of, I think, value to the community regarding either starting or growing a business, because I've been there and done that.
Yeah. So if I'm really at the beginning and I just have this idea that I want to foster, but I don't know, do I go to a banker first? Do I talk about a business plan first? Do I find financing? What do I create a logo? What is my first step? Is that something that you can counsel me on?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because I don't have any emotion tied to to your endeavor. So the good news is our services are free. The bad news is that they're free.
Yeah.
Because I don't have a dog in the hunt. All I'm trying to do is to help you make the best decision possible based on your objective. I take remember I'm a computer brain, so I take a very logical, mathematical, monetary look at things, because you're getting ready to embark on something that is probably going to involve some risk. Not probably, but it is.
Yeah.
Now, the level is determined by you, all right? But there is risk involved, and we may have to have a conversation about how much, okay?
Okay.
So, once we determine that there is risk and how much, then I want you to come to the conclusion of, what is my reward?
Yeah. What's my end goal? I mean,
it's okay to say what's in it for me.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked to a lot of business owners that just this summer that have said, this was me kind of taking my life plan into my own hands, and that's
fine.
Absolutely.
And all that's fine as long as you're comfortable with it.
Yeah.
You could have a high risk, a low reward, but you just love it and you're going to be successful at it and be good at it. Great, as long as you know that.
Yeah.
Because the last thing you want to have happen is you see all the risk that you're taking for the paltry amount of reward that you're getting.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, could you walk a sandwich board on I-45 in August in rush hour and get more money? I don't know.
I mean, you could get some good publicity.
You get hot, But so those types of things are what I'm looking at. I have experienced in over 9 years of doing this. A lot of people want to start a business in doing something they like to do.
Right.
They like to do.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's fine as long as there's a market for your product or services, because eventually somebody's got to sell something.
Yeah.
And if you really enjoy repairing Betamax video recorders, excellent.
Yeah.
You're just not going to have a market for it.
No. Right. It's a great hobby.
It is. Even though it could be your customer.
Yeah.
I mean, 6 people a year may want their Betamax recorder repaired, but if you give up a job for that, so that's risk,
right,
and money, and whatever, to take on this unknown for a tiny amount of reward, you might want to think about that.
Yeah.
Well, I like that you say that, you kind of, since you don't have emotion in it, since your heart's not in it, you do have a dog in the fight in a sense that you are looking out for your client. And their best interest and kind of be in that safe zone. So
all I want them to
that.
do is leave my office after the first visit and come back as often as they want with way more valuable information than they came in with.
Absolutely.
That's just the bottom line.
Yeah.
Okay, because when you get in the ditch, it can be expensive to get out.
Yeah.
Okay, so Steve, what are some of the resources that you can offer clients that maybe they might be most surprised by?
Well, One is 60 years of business ownership experience in our group. You know, that's a tremendous amount of intellectual capital that we give away. Mm-hmm. You know, we don't sell it, we give it away. So that's one thing. The other thing is we provide for existing businesses very detailed financial analysis presented in a very basic way.
Okay.
So you can take a look at your financials and compare to other industries in the region. How am I doing? Where am I weak? Where am I strong? Where are my opportunities for improvement? That kind of thing. All this is at no cost. Now, the training that we do offer at U of H, there is a cost for that, but they're a nonprofit, so they're not trying to make a killing on this.
Right.
So it's very minimal cost. But those are the primary things.
Okay.
Now, we don't write your business plan for you. I don't create your financials for you, but I show you how to do it.
Okay.
Okay. And we have a business plan outline or a template that's very savable to your device. You know, strip out all the canned paragraphs, put your stuff in, and go.
Okay.
Any business plan that's over 20 pages, including financials and exhibits, is way too big.
Good to know.
So financials, you know, I pick on my accounting friends a little bit because I think that they intentionally overcomplicate this.
Mm-hmm.
And,
I get you.
and they pick back saying it's not us, it's the regulations.
Yeah.
Right.
So we have a lot of fun with it. But so I help you with your financials and try to, you know, simplify it. So that's why I teach the class here, understanding the numbers, because so many business owners can read their financials, but they cannot interpret them. You know, I can read Vietnamese, I just can't interpret it.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and so it's the same thing with that. So those are some of the things that we help with. I mean, in a very detailed way.
Okay. So now, Steve, you mentioned that between all the consultants, you have 60 years of small business ownership experience. 60. That's a lot. But so there are, I should know this, there are 7 different consultants in the Lone Star district, is that right?
Just 4?
4.
Oh, I'm sorry. There are 4 consultants plus the director, so
Okay.
say 4.5, if you will.
4.5.
You know, but he's our manufacturing expert.
Okay.
And, you know, I can't spell manufacturing hardly. But so when I get someone in manufacturing, other than the ridiculously obvious, and they want to know,
Sure.
you know, I bring him in immediately because he's the expert at it. We work together as a team
Okay.
very, very well. We're just scattered around the Lone Star area just for convenience for the people who want to visit with us.
Sure. But I think that's a great kind of inner network of like, hey, I'm really not the person that you should talk to about this. Like, let me connect you with somebody else in the network that,
We do it all the
you know,
time.
has really this awesome niche.
Exactly.
I love that.
And unfortunately, I didn't look at it. If the person office is here, well, you know, I'm a mile away.
Yeah.
But the person who they may want to meet with is over at Sci-Fair. So we try to bring them here.
Oh, very
as opposed
good.
to sending them there.
Because that's great customer service. I like that.
Exactly. Because I've been a business owner, and time is money.
Time is money. Absolutely. So, Steve, how do you partner with the chamber? How do you utilize the chamber? Or maybe even the broader question is, how would you suggest a small business utilizes the chamber?
Could I answer both of them?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Well, the reason I got this smile on my face was in the summer of '07, right after we all started here, and it was seriously the blind leading the blind. Because there was no director when we started, and one part-time consultant over in Tomball who had never run a business before. So Sal, our director, set up a meeting with Karen here to just have hey, how can we help each other meeting? You know, I mean, it was over in the other office, the big conference room, the Brady conference room, you know, it was like 25 people in there. And we all came and everything. Of course, nobody knew what we did, which is pretty typical. Karen knew a little bit. So it was like, what do you do? What do you do? And when they discovered within the first 20 minutes of the meeting that we can take a tremendous burden off of the chamber by explaining how to run a business, how you start a business, what do you have to do, why you should be a corporation or not, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it was on. They were elated, okay, because so many people at the time would come in, join the chamber. Now, should I be a sole proprietor or a corporation? And now they go, here, Call Steve.
Call Steve.
Okay.
We have lots of his business cards, so we're happy to share.
And so it's been a fantastic partnership ever since then.
Yeah.
Okay, because we take that burden off of them, and they do what the chambers do. Is it's called the Chamber of Commerce, promoting commerce. Okay?
Absolutely.
And when I first, the second part of the question is when I start working with, we'll just call them startups or businesses who have done basically no marketing, yellow pages and door hangers and that kind of thing. Don't know anything about the chamber, don't know why they exist, don't know why they should be part of it or anything. Well, I spend quite a bit of time explaining the true value to cost associated with that interaction. Okay,
Yeah.
so help me on the fee, what, $375, $4?
Yeah, our business
basic.
level is right about that. Yeah.
Okay, so for whatever that fee is, for all that you get for that, then it should be your first marketing expense.
Yeah.
Because I draw a little diagram on marketing for people who are just getting into this to show them, okay, not everybody has Mattress Mac money or Budweiser money. Okay?
Right.
So you're way over here on the other spectrum where you have some marketing money, but what you mostly have is time.
Yeah.
Because you don't have any customers.
That's true.
You got time. Well, where better to spend your time marketing than in a chamber of commerce? Okay.
Yeah.
So I go through all that and send everybody I can over here that are in that environment to maximize their marketing money for what they can get for it. Now, I do prepare them and I say, look, if you just go over there and spend your money and get a plaque,
Right.
you go home and sit down, wasting your time.
Yeah.
And money. You go to Galveston for a long weekend and have some fun. It's a better use of your money. And so I do a lot of expectation management around that.
Very good.
Where I draw a big T and a little C on a piece of paper. It says you got a lot of time and a little bit of customers. And so you want to take that time to reverse the T to a little small T and a big C. So you've got more customers than you do time.
Absolutely.
And
Well, we
Chamber's
actually,
a great way to do that.
and we have, there's a multitude of ways that a small business, or anybody, but a small business especially, can market themselves at the chamber that's of no additional fee outside of their membership. So we have a whole checklist, and I'm happy to share that with you. That way, if you
Be happy to.
and our members can find it on the Member Information Center in the Resources tab. Just make sure they've got those checked off and make sure they're utilizing all
What
those
so many people
opportunities.
don't know is how marketing is done in this part of the country.
Yes.
Okay, so if you just took a semicircle down to the Gulf from Huntsville, just kind of drew a little semicircle around. Everything underneath that semicircle is, for small businesses, is pretty much networking and referrals.
Yeah.
I agree.
Agreed.
End of story. And if you don't participate in that, well, I'm not really good with people. I'm not this, that, and the other. Okay, that's fine. You weren't good at walking one time either, but look how good you do that. Okay, so you're gonna have to get out there and get with it. And I help people do that.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a guy in the chamber right now. I wrote his commercial for him.
Well, look at you. You have
Based on what he
skills.
told me. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right.
That's
and,
awesome.
And he had to change it. Well, you talk about painful.
Yeah.
I mean, it's OMG big time. Okay. It was very painful, and he's still struggling with it, but he's getting there.
Right.
And so it's just what it is. And if you're not comfortable with that, you either find someone to do it for you, or learn how to do it yourself. And it's not easy to learn. I mean,
No.
a lot of people go to networking events,
Uh-huh.
but they don't necessarily network when they get there.
Yeah. And that's hard, and it can be intimidating. And Robin Roberts was one of our guests earlier this summer, and she had a great piece of advice that said, every time you go to a networking event, pretend like you are the host. And it just puts you in kind of the mindset of, you belong here, and this is where you should be, and it makes that interaction far easier. But you're exactly right. You can go and you can show up, but it's very different than engaging.
And most people that are starting a business are doing something outside their comfort zone.
Sure.
Okay, for the first time, maybe in a long time. Okay, well, that's painful.
Yeah.
Okay, growing is painful. But if you don't grow, you're going to say, do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always gotten, kind of thing. So it's, I try to provide all that information to people so they have appropriate expectations. There's a lot more to just going to a networking event.
Yeah.
Anybody can do that.
Absolutely. Well, Steve, thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
This was
Thank
a great
you
talk.
for allowing me to speak.
Oh, our pleasure. This was a great talk. So if you are interested in starting a business or growing a business, Steve is the man to talk to. And he can help get you connected with resources and kind of be a guiding light through that process for you. His services are complimentary, and you can get his contact information here at the Chamber, or you can call him.
Yep, you can call me at 832-813-6523. We have to a little bit of paperwork to take care of first, then we get started.
Well, great. Steve, thank you again for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
I'm Ellie P.
And I'm Holly P.
And this is Two Peas in a Podcast, where we tell you what's going on in the Chamber this week.
So, Ellie, what is going on July 20th?
Well, on July 20th, we have networking breakfast. So networking breakfast is Wednesday, July 20th at 7:01 a.m. because 7 o'clock is just too early. So join us over at Fleming's. They have a phenomenal breakfast every week. It is worth it. Luke will be there to serve you coffee. He is there every networking breakfast.
He's awesome.
He is awesome. And he makes the best
Shout
coffee.
out to Luke.
Shout out to Luke and serving coffee. Networking breakfast, you can register online. In fact, that's the best way to do it, is to go online and register. There's a link. You can see it in the scrolling calendar. You can search for it on the website. It's easy to find. It's $10 for members, $20 for prospective members, and you guys have to register online. It makes kind of getting in there way quicker, so you can show up at 7 and still get in there in time for the 7:01 start time. So be sure to get there, and don't forget, if you want to share some marketing collateral, Fleming's always sets out to-go bags at every seat, and if you get there early enough, you are more than welcome to go around and put some of your marketing collateral or your event promotions in those bags. It's a great opportunity and a great way to get all of those members taking that stuff home with them, and we actually have been having right around 100 attendees at the networking breakfast recently, which is phenomenal.
That is amazing.
So register online, 7:01 a.m. on Wednesday the 20th, and bring your marketing collateral to share at 6:30 a.m. We'll see y'all there.
And then also on July 21st is the Young Professionals Network. That will be hosted at Babin's Seafood House right there on I-45. It's a great networking event for those of you that are 39 and under. So come on out there and enjoy some cocktails and some appetizers and do some networking with the young up-and-comers in the community, and they're great leaders and all that good stuff. So again, July 21st, Young Professionals Network at Babin's Seafood House.
See you there.
This is Holly P.
And this is Ellie P.
And this is Two Peas in a Podcast.
Thanks for joining us.